Hello everyone and welcome to the NanoReach Podcast, a series where we learn about the life and research of the members of the Institute of Chemical Technology's Nanomedicine Research Group or the NRG. I am your host Sanjana Krishnakumar and I am a science communicator working with the NRG. This episode is a special one as for the first time we have not one but two guests, M.Tech student Parul and PhD scholar Lakshmi Menon. Parul's and Lakshmi's research centers around materials known as biopolymers, which have the ability to support cells outside a living organism. Sounds very interesting, right? Biopolymers act as scaffolds that can be used to assist cell growth within three-dimensional cell models such as microtissues and organs on chips. These models simulate the conditions of a living tissue and can be used to test various drugs that have been developed against diseases. Let's learn more about biopolymers and about the life at the NRG from our guests Lakshmi and Parul themselves. Hi Parul, hi Lakshmi and welcome to the NanoReach Podcast.
Hey.
First episode of the NanoReach Podcast that features more than one person. How are you both feeling?
Yeah, we're feeling good. We are excited about this.
Even though I'm excited, actually it is my first podcast.
Ooh.
Yeah,
I'm
even
excited.
Well, it's also my first time speaking to two people, so yeah. Now, how has your day been so far?
So I was working very fine. So I was working with the rheometer and conducting some interesting experiment with different kind of polymers.
What do you work on?
So this is my second project, working with different sterilization method for bioprinting. So there is as such no any paper regarding the sterilization of a paper. Like you have to search for different paper regarding one polymer. So I was collaborating all the things and trying to be in one paper.
Oh, interesting. So you're working on biopolymers.
Yeah, biopolymers.
What about you, Lakshmi?
So I also work on biopolymers itself. So I'm trying to synthesize one polymer, like not essentially synthesize the whole polymer, but just give it a new functional group so that it can be more useful and has more diverse applications. So that synthesis process is happening. So we have basically concentrated on synthesis of bio ink. So we have a couple of researchers here working on 3D bioprinting. And I am trying to synthesize a novel bio ink which will have diverse applications once it is into that stage.
That's really interesting. So, how is it that you got into this area of research?
So honestly, in my master's project in IIT Madras, I was involved in synthesizing injectable hydrogel. So injectable hydrogel is something which can be extruded through a syringe and then it undergoes a salt to gel transformation and then it will have tissue engineering applications. So what I was doing over there was manually extruding it. And when I came to know about this project opportunity, it is essentially having a whole printer which will do that. So it is just more automated. It will have better applications in terms of the structure which will be printed out will have more defined microstructure. So that will help in replicating the tissue or whatever we are trying to replicate. The microstructures will be more similar. So this was just essentially an advanced version of what I was doing in masters. So I was easily drawn into the project.
Since you said that what you're working on is an automated way of printing, is this the way that will be more reflective of how this process can be like applied in an industrial setting?
Yes, definitely. But it is not just limited to industrial applications because as R&D research scientists, when they are trying to, so right now we have FDA trying to reduce the animal testing. So we all have to switch to lab grown tissues for relying on the drug testing. So for replicating effectively what is happening inside our body, we need defined structures outside. So that 3D bioprinting is going to help. So definitely at an industrial scale, you can already see these pharmaceutical big giants switching to the skin on a chip or something like that. So when they are trying to move on at that level, so eventually for all organs, that is the dream what we are looking at.
That's really
And I just want to add one point. Recently, FDA has passed on an article saying that no drug trials on an animal. I think this technology is going to help, literally help in the upload. Yes.
So, Parul, how is it that you got interested in the same topic?
Okay, so earlier I was into the Vandana's Naam lab. So I came to know about the project under Prajakta Dandekar like 3D bioprinting. So I was very fascinated about 3D. What is 3D bioprinting? Like it's an additive like technology. So I was like, okay, I want to give a chance. So later on, then like I found like it's very interesting and I have visited it.
That is true. Like whenever we have lab visits or something, 3D bioprinter is definitely like an eye-catching thing because it's still novel. It is still not very common in India, and it deserves all the attention actually.
And also, as a fun personal note, I also think 3D bioprinters are the coolest sounding instruments in the lab. Just listening to it is very, very calming, very therapeutic. So yeah, Parul, you have almost finished doing your research work for your master's thesis and you're going to be finishing your master's very soon. So what was the experience of doing a whole research project like?
Okay, earlier I was in with how I'm going to perform with 3D bioprinting. Although it sounds to be very cool and innovative technology, but yeah, there are a lot of challenges I have faced. How to characterize the scaffold, how to print. So there are various challenges. So I'm like, you will learn better if you have so many challenges. I personally think so, and yeah, I learned a lot of things.
Besides your experiments, did you also did you get to meet anyone that was really cool? Did you get to learn about other research projects in the lab? What was that like?
Definitely. Earlier I was thinking, okay, 3D bioprinting can be have into one research article, but like one of my colleagues are working on cultivated meat, and one other is working on like downstreaming processes, protein extractions, and yeah, it's been cool.
What about you, Lakshmi? Have you found any of the other research in NRG very interesting?
Yes. So what honestly I feel is that NRGs are usually divided into like two categories. The one who handle analytical devices, like analytical techniques, and the other who does 3D cell culture. So both of them feel that what the other person do is like so cool because they don't see what we are doing inside. So they're like, oh, you're growing cells and all. And we don't understand all those HPLC graphs. So we are like, oh my God, what is this all graphs? And how do you know so much about protein just by few peaks? So, but that is the thing about working here. You can easily, if you just find a little time, you can understand so many new techniques and so many new opportunities which are just within the boundaries of.
So what was your experience like working at the NRG for the last 2-3 years?
Yeah, the 1.5 years, not 3 years because I'm counting my PhD years already. But yeah, it was really great experience. So as Sir always points out, our lab is pretty resourceful. So as compared to the previous labs which I've worked in, you don't have to replan experiments just because something might be really expensive. So if it is critical, then you will get it over here. So that is something which is very helpful, and they are great guys. So they are helping us out. And we also have enough connections to, we have some samples to be analyzed somewhere outside. We can just do that easily. So things are great working in this lab. It's going well.
I've also spoken to other people in other episodes of the podcast or even outside the lab. So a lot of them have told me that they have gone to TIFR to collaborate with certain people. Some of them have been to NanoReach to collaborate with certain people.
I said Pune.
Oh yeah,
many people go there.
Someone recently went to Pune.
Yeah.
And it's so important to have a network of people outside of the place where you work, because ultimately when you are done with your work and you go out, you need those people to help you establish yourself as a scientist. So I think that is really cool. Speaking of Lakshmi, I also believe that you used to teach at one point before you started working over here. So
yes.
What's that about? Any PI ambitions you have?
Yeah. So I wouldn't totally deny those rumors because teaching is something which I've always liked to. So even when I was doing my B.Tech, I would be the one nerd who will be teaching, cramming up the notes and giving the summary the day before the exam so that, it's just, so yeah, that is something which I've been inclined to for sure. So I had a very short stint actually. It was just a couple of months and it was during the COVID time. So my dream of being a teacher was almost half broken because it's just online class and you know how online class works. Kids are just basically there on the screen, but they are not paying attention. But
As
it is a
someone
good
who was
one.
on the screen, yes, I
Yeah,
apologize.
exactly. But you don't have to apologize, considering I was teaching and then few months later I had to start taking courses here in ICT and I was doing the same thing. So yeah, I don't think you can expect more from students, but yeah.
So that's something you would also like to pursue during your PhD or after your PhD.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind pursuing a career in teaching, but that is something which needs to be decided later, I guess. But definitely, yeah, something along academia would be something I'll be looking for.
Speaking of future prospects and plans, I believe our Parul over here has landed a job with Syngene.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about that?
Actually, I'm feeling very good because my research position would be research associate in an Syngene company. So I'm into a North Indian girl. So extreme hot and extreme cold. So I have seen the two phases of climate. But we'll see, it would be great to see Bangalore's climate and Rameshwara's.
She's already hyped about the idlis of Rameshwaram Cafe.
No, but actually I feel like Bangalore is such a vibrant, youthful culture. I feel like now Bangalore is becoming the city that's known for the youthful culture rather than Mumbai, where we're living in right now. So, all the best. And what else do you look forward to in Bangalore with your job and stuff?
In Bangalore. So I would personally believe I would be social person. I want to be a social person. I'm little bit introvert and little bit of okay, I don't want to, but I want to in person. I want to. So I just want to take out that fear. So this I want to definitely do in Bangalore. I just want to.
So you want to improve your social network in the company.
I don't know
as
how
such.
to being like others. See how our sir connects socially in LinkedIn. So I don't know. I'm very poor at this.
Yeah.
So personally, I just want to improve
The networking
sense. Yeah.
I think the network starts building around you automatically as you start working, because before I came here as a science communicator, I hardly had anyone in my professional network. But after working with Sir for 2 months almost, it's suddenly so many people are introducing themselves to me hey, I work with this lab, I'm a student over here, it's nice to meet you. So it's something that comes to you naturally and you'll be fine. I think.
Thank you.
What about Lakshmi?
Yeah, Lakshmi is a work in progress now. So
I used to call.
Yeah, she used to address me in this informal mails and all. She'll be like, Dr. Lakshmi, can you look into it? And I'll always be like, not yet, but yeah.
But yeah, you also call her ma'am, right?
Yeah, she is. So she's the first master student I'm mentoring. And I was really worried in the start because I was like, oh my god, I don't know how it's going to be, because somebody's master thesis is sort of your responsibility, even though you're just the mentor and there is obviously Dr. Prajakta to look into it. But you also have to ensure that they do well, right? And of course, after putting in so much time, you do not want it to go to waste. So you want something good for the community coming out of it. So we tried to put Parul's the whole research in that direction, and I'm glad that it's come through, and we are fingers crossed looking for a publication from her work.
Yeah.
So, that's once we finish out finish the theses and all that, we are going to look into publication as well.
All the best.
Thank you.
And Lakshmi, I know it's maybe a little too early to ask, but have you thought about what you would like to do after a PhD?
After PhD, I like to be in academia and in research, so I'll probably go for a postdoc. My friends from the B.Tech would probably be like, are you serious? Still studying? Because most of them have gone to, in the industry. But I don't know, I somehow just like being in academia. So maybe a postdoc. Yeah.
Nice. I also believe academia does offer a lot of creative freedom when it comes to picking certain projects that you want to work on.
Yeah, that is something which is really true, because the kind of master project you're taking or the kind of PhD project you're taking over here, you get a lot of freedom in deciding what you want. And once you have decided that this is what your objectives are, then it's much more the compassion which comes to doing that work, that is much more when you have had the freedom to choose your object.
So, Parul, do you think you're gonna miss the energy after?
Of course, definitely. Even after lockdown, I was turned into complete an introvert girl. So after coming to an NRG, definitely we have a lot of parties, I guess. Luckiest batch. So we went to Goa for a workshop. So we have NRG 10-year celebration.
Yeah.
So I have met a lot of people and personally have improved a lot.
Parul is a social butterfly.
Yeah.
If she was an introvert, that is not something anybody would believe at NRG at this point.
At this point, nobody is going to believe. But earlier, when I came to NRG, I was an introvert.
And she wants to go to Bangalore and become even more social.
Yeah,
I just want
in the professional side now.
Because I love to be an... See, I observe this change and I pretty feel it's a good
Change.
Yeah, it's a good change. So I think I will improve more.
I mean, yeah, I was also a complete introvert. The only reason the reason I speak, so I don't know if you've noticed, but I only speak to people when I have to know about them. I don't normally speak to people unless they approach me first. But as a science communicator, I kind of do.
Yeah.
So,
It's your job.
Yeah, it is quite literally my job. But yeah, but the thing is, because I've been kind of forced into an environment where I do speak to people, I've also come to learn how to enjoy it. I've come to learn how to see different people's perspectives, understand their experiences, and you learn a lot from other people, and sometimes even more than your classroom.
I do personally I got an opportunity for an internship working in an MBL company. So I got this opportunity from ma'am itself. So I pretty feel like it's a good opportunity, good experiences and good connection you have especially in an NRG.
So, I also wanted to ask you another question. So, I have come and visited both of you in the lab multiple times in the past, and I've noticed that both of you are really efficient with the way you study and do your background research before you write or before you plan an experiment and stuff. So, what are some of the tips that you would give to other researchers with respect to certain tools you can use, certain techniques you can use, or how to plan? So, what are some of the tips that you would give other researchers?
Are you pointing out to ChatGPT?
So, ChatGPT thesis is something which is definitely not good. But ChatGPT does solve a few of the basic questions which you get, and then you don't have time to look into it in detail. Then those kind of help, the AI tools are definitely useful. So I use actually a AI tool called Perplexity. So Perplexity is essentially ChatGPT plus Google. So when you usually Google, you just find a set of results, right? Perplexity will make it into a para and tell you the exact answers. So that is something which I use and I find it useful. So not exactly for the research, but when you're looking into a broader sense that you just want to understand a new topic. So if you just Google that, it gives a pretty much more concise reply than Google compared to that.
I think the AI technology is more of learning rather than copying.
Absolutely. So whenever I go to the lab and I see Parul on ChatGPT, I go to her and I'm like, hey, ChatGPT. That's why she asked me that question.
So if you want, you can troll me, but I'll personally take it as a compliment because I'm forward to the people who don't know about the AI. So I'm taking it as compliment.
No, but honestly, if you do follow other science communicators and research scholars on social media platforms or even LinkedIn, they do actually talk about a lot of AI tools that researchers can use. Some of them are even using AI to manage citations and stuff like that. So if it can make your work easier while still maintaining academic integrity, then why not?
And definitely it is going to improve your efficiency. So
that is what matters. But I think most of us in the lab are still stuck with Mendeley, EndNote and Zotero for citations at least.
Yeah, we definitely.
And for day-to-day organization, I think Notion is a great tool. It pretty much segregates everything, has a little bit of coding or something, but pretty much a really good tool.
As a side note, I must tell our audience that none of this content is sponsored.
So we wish we got the license for free. But
any of the tools we mentioned, if you want to sponsor us, please, we are more than happy to do so. But my final question to both of you would be, Parul, if you had the opportunity to meet yourself before you started your masters, what would you say to yourself?
क्या बोलते तुम?
नहीं, मैं पंजाबी में बोलती कि चल पारुल कम कर, मतलब Okay.
काम कर.
हाँ मतलब काम कर, कुत्ते का टाइम आ गया, लॉकडाउन बहुत एंजॉय कर लिया है.
And what about you, Lakshmi? If you had the opportunity to meet your younger self before you started your PhD, what would you tell your younger self?
I don't know. That PhD is a long journey. And in the bigger perspective, it might feel like, okay, 4 year, 5 year, it's like such a long thing. But when you actually start working, you don't know how the weeks turn to months and the months turn to year. It's just when the lab meet suddenly happens, you're like, oh my god, okay. So for so many months, this is what I had to, crack my brain on. So yeah, it's a long journey as well as a short journey somehow. It's a paradox. PhD is a paradox.
Bachelor's is full of fun. And what do you expect from me to have like serious notions? No, definitely no.
But I think ICT in general also treated you well in terms of fun.
Yeah. We don't have like functions, manzar, fun time. We don't have DJ parties, DJ nights.
Probably DJ parties are one of the reasons why I don't want to leave academia. You don't have to go to a club. You can just be in college.
Conferences.
Oh yes, definitely that.
When I joined here, I spoke to some of my colleagues about the biosimilar workshop that had happened in February, and they were all showing me pictures of them in Goa, attending conferences, meeting professors, eating at the beach, chilling in the beach waters.
The food at Novotel, oh my god, it was so good.
Also, we are not being sponsored by Novotel.
Maybe sir should show this to them next time.
Yeah, totally not sponsored content, but yeah. It's great to see how like the NRG has so much diversity with respect to research topics, so much diversity with respect to where students come from, and different levels of education. So you have like people who've completed their bachelor's, people who've completed their master's, people with industry experience, people with teaching experience. And yeah, I think it makes for a very rounded experience for someone who wants to work here. Thank you so much for speaking to me, Lakshmi and Parul.
Thank you so
Thank you. The pleasure is ours.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the NanoReach Podcast. Please follow us on YouTube and Spotify to learn more about our researchers and the work that they do at the Nanomedicine Research Group.